Welcome to the Midnight Sun. My name is Warren Pruitt. My co-host today is Robbie Mills. You'll be seeing a lot of him, trust me. Today we are going to be shedding light on transhumanism. Generally speaking, it's a philosophy that believes that human beings have not yet reached their pinnacle. They're actually far from it. There is a large element of human potential that is still unrealized. And given that it's a philosophical view or movement, there are a lot of facets to it. And so there's the first main thing is that human beings they're capable of being enhanced not only in terms of their own natural evolution. We've kind of hit that pinnacle if you haven't noticed. Shit hasn't changed. But in the same token, we've advanced in technology, which could, when I say shit hasn't changed, I mean the human condition hasn't changed in quite some time. But our technology advanced sufficiently to where we can develop biomedical enhancements, biological enhancements, technological enhancements, cybernetic enhancements, and all the more to really just enhance the human condition. So we're just going to kind of crack that open. I gave a few articles to my boy over here to read. I made it through a few of them. He made it through shit. They're so dense, like
it was hard to get through for sure. It's extremely complicated, and as soon as you get into any particular part of it, it just opens up so many doors. So yeah, it's definitely hard to get through.
It's rough to get through, but it's fun trying to get there.
Oh, for sure.
It's like every time you claw at one idea, it's like holy fuck! Like this is just like full of gems.
It's like that spider web of different things that is like fucking. That's what I was dealing with.
Yeah,
is that there was too many things that were coming from one thing that they would mention.
Yeah. Your mind just kind of spirals everywhere. That's how I was doing. Like I was trying to eat lunch at work, and I'd read one sentence, and then I'd have to like write something. And you know how I eat? I use my hands.
Like a fucking savage. Yeah, like a fucking caveman. This guy.
And I eat with my right hand, so like I had to try to scribble down notes with my left hand, and I'm like, well,
that's so fitting, bro.
Is a lost.
I hear like grunting and
the beauty of like what I was reading about was it's like, man, if I had a fucking biological left arm, I could just write perfect notes, or I could put a cognitive enhancement in and just be like, oh, I remember the exact point that I wanted to write down for later. But
you'd have a database though. You could probably wouldn't even need to write. You could just have blank pages and literally
upload your thoughts into the cloud
onto the page itself. Yeah,
that'd be.
And it's just flipping pages is just. I like to drive a car. You know what I mean? Like, even though they drive themselves.
Can you imagine that? Like, given the AI cars and everything, like you upload your consciousness into your car.
Oh,
so like your car heads.
There's plenty of examples of that.
Your car heads, your motor heads just love, like they experience their love in a whole new way. I figured we could use the Transhumanist Declaration as sort of like a kind of a jump off point for everything we're going to talk about, because we did have a few jump off points, you know, just talking about this earlier in the few that I read. I read through them all, but it was like the first few we were like. By the end, I was just trying to get through it.
I feel like this topic is not easily done in one sitting. It's definitely going to take multiple discussions.
Yeah, and we can it's something we can definitely come back to. I mean, like you got to think there's also a series of debates.
Oh man,
between a highly
that's going to consume everything.
Somebody with verbal diarrhea. It's between two people with different types of verbal diarrhea. It's like they both have the same condition, but for different reasons.
One's just constipated and has struggles every now and then. It's like, oh, is he gonna say that? Oh, now he's talking.
Yeah, no, there he goes. And then the other guy is just like, God damn, this guy just runs.
That's full flowing diarrhea, bro. Yeah. Biden is constipation. Trump is diarrhea.
Yeah, yeah. And it's constipation, and it's like when he actually makes it out, it's just like, oh shit.
That's not what I expected.
Yeah.
I expected more, honestly.
He only said the one racist thing? Alright, good.
Yeah, right.
That's coverable. Alright.
Oh, man.
The Transhumanist Declaration. Alright. Point 1. and this was sort of what I introduced the topic with. Humanity stands to be profoundly affected by science and technology in the future. We envision the possibility of broadening human potential by overcoming aging, cognitive shortcomings, involuntary suffering, and our confinement to planet Earth. And I thought that was an extremely interesting point because that kind of just it just sums up everything that we've read about and all that stuff, all the stuff that I've read about at least. What really interests me is not overcoming aging. We've been obsessed with aging for like thousands of years. Like that's the one thing that we've always had as an indicator that you're close to death. Mm-hmm. So like it's like put off death instinctually. Oh, put off aging, then I put off death kind of thing. But this one, the overcoming cognitive shortcomings. That's one, because involuntary suffering, again, suffering is something we've always tried to alleviate. I mean, at least in the, well, I'd love to say...
Is this shortcoming something that needs to be alleviated? Will it be considered something that needs to be...
Well, I mean, you got to think, number one, cognitive shortcomings could mean a lot of things. Like, it could mean just generally IQ shortcomings, so like the people at the lower end of the tails with, like, what is an IQ indicator of mental retardation or something like that, some sort of intellectual disorder. But
also brain damage.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like there would be technology to like not only heal the brain, but it's like, oh, we can make it actually that part of your brain better, like,
which is where it starts.
Yeah,
is because we got to be.
Well, we got to figure out
humane about it, right? We got to work with people who need it.
Well, that
like
and
Elon Musk's Neuralink.
You got to figure out how to fix something that's screwed up before you can figure out how to enhance it. Because if you enhance it and it gets screwed up, you have to be able to go, oh yeah, we covered that screw up down here. We got a barrier for that, something like that. If you just if you just dive in to a pool of some random liquid because it looks enticing, it might be acid and you'll die. Like you have to kind of test the waters of everything and make sure what it's capable. Well, the second point was. No, it wasn't the second point. It was the third point. We recognize that humanity faces serious risks, especially from the misuse of new technologies. There are possible realistic scenarios that lead to the loss of most or even all of what we hold valuable. Some of these scenarios are drastic and others are subtle. Although all progress is change, not all change is progress. And the previous owner of this book highlighted that point. So, like, you got, like, oh yeah, we developed this cognitive enhancement. And then it turns out that every single individual that got it now has a cognitive disability.
Yeah.
Like, well, we changed things.
Kind of like vaccines. We slowed it down, but...
It depends on what you're talking about. It depends on what you're talking about.
Fucked.
Because how many fucking cases of polio have you heard
about? True. And how rampant it was when it...
Exactly. It was rampant and... that got knocked out. Now, if you're talking about like a flu vaccine
or a corona vaccine,
yeah, that's
being pushed real quick.
Like that's the thing is that's one where it's like I'm not even educated formally in medical science, but it's like show me the Carfax, like show me the research.
Yeah, like can we just stick with the way that things have been verified, especially in this field.
Well, you got to think like that would be overcoming illness and involuntary. That was. Fuck, what was it? It was... involuntary suffering was right after cognitive shortcomings. Like, involuntary suffering would be disease. Like, we would... Could you imagine that? A world free of disease? That'd be crazy to me. Like...
Yes, because, man,
See, this is why...
I'm pretty healthy, and on occasion, maybe once a year, I get sick. So,
yeah.
If it just... That once a year went away, I mean, other than... I don't know. I'm in some pain, but I don't have anything like terribly wrong with me. So yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well, like no, I had this idea. Like I was like, this is why I like this topic, is because I was thinking when humans prosper, they breed. Mm-hmm. Like they're like, oh well, we have enough
breeding.
Yeah, we have enough resources to breed and have children and have offspring. It's just kind of how we are. And so, if we live in a world free of disease and involuntary suffering, that would kind of definitionally be prospering. Like, we would be prospering. And humans would breed a lot if we didn't have that. But then I thought, well, if you have all of these different enhancements and all this education, would we? Like,
we might, because we are getting to a point where we're leaving this planet. If we could not leave the planet, then I would say maybe not.
yeah.
But if we're going out there and we don't have to worry about dying or aging, you know what I mean? Then yeah, we would. At that point, why wouldn't we fucking spread our seed throughout the universe? We already try our best to spread our seed amongst ourselves.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you had all these cognitive enhancements, do you think there would be one, like, that it's, like, just kind of inherent within it? It's not what it's for, but when you get whatever it is that just everyone is getting at that point in time, what if it, like, turns down not your... Like, what if it turns down that instinct? Like, your literal instinct. It actually... It's let's say this. So you have your three motivations, or you have your two motivations. You have your base motivations.
The fear of living forever, because what does that mean? You've got to.
Well, that's a completely different point. What I'm getting at is, like, what if you have your base motivation, you're like your id, your like animal, and then you have your higher motivation, which is like you know, higher consciousness, your personhood, being aware. And so, what if there was a cognitive enhancement that literally just kind of shielded that motivation, like it just. Like, what would that... I can't even envision what that would turn people into. Or how it would come about. That's a cognitive thing. That's not even... That's somewhat physical, but you would have to map the physical part of the brain onto that element of consciousness. It'd be freaky. This
topic is a fucking mindfuck.
It is. Like, it really is. Like, that's why every sentence I read, as I imagine it was the case with you, is like, oh my god, just...
Yeah, man, I couldn't get through a page without sitting there, like, thinking about several other things. Yeah, in my ADD mind, I'm just all over the fucking place.
Yeah, it's the same. Like, I was just, you know, like, especially when I read the article was essentially saying that, like, the transgender condition, and I really, again, like, I emphasize trying to kind of hover around this topic very carefully. I don't know exactly what may be offensive and what may not be, but this article seemed what its essential thesis was that the transgender condition and gender reassignment surgery was the first step towards like a transhumanist potential.
Well, in this world, in this future with transhumanism, it would benefit that community, I would think, because then
absolutely,
because there's more options to do so, which means more people will do it, you know. And if right now, you know, it's very permanent, but what happens when it's not permanent?
Yeah, like you can
go back and forth.
Well, like that's the thing, and this is another really touchy subject. But you've heard of children being like going under the gender reassignment and getting hormones and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to go into the politics of that, but I'm simply saying that if there's a child that feels as though they're not the gender that they were born, they could just like hop in to the other body and sort of like go
get a feel,
and get a feel for it and be like, kind of
this isn't what I wanted.
Yeah,
but it's so permanent right now.
Yeah,
that I feel like with any kind of, and yeah, I'm gonna try to go around the subject a little bit, but I think that it's the permanence of it now is why I think it should be like there should be an age limit for sure. You gotta have a full developed brain before you make a decision like that. That's a really
good point. Is just, but simply because of the permanency of it. Like, it would be completely different if it was like an artist kind of thing where you could be like, oh, no, didn't mean to do that. There you go, back to normal, like, back to what you meant to be, that's whatever. But the other thing that I thought of was even beyond ascribing yourself to the opposite sex, like, rather than just boy to girl or girl to boy.
Well, there's plenty of people who are asexual.
And the thing about...
what about an asexual being that doesn't decide either gender?
Or somebody who's, I believe the term is non-binary. Like, we could actually engineer a body that... Like, imagine this shit. Like, you could engineer the body of your choosing at that point. Like, if technology is... If you can transfer your consciousness into another body, I imagine we can engineer bodies. This is getting really close to
real
Altered
mannequin like.
It reminds me of Altered Carbon.
Yes.
It does. It reminds me of Altered Carbon.
Now, that's interesting because of the chips, that your consciousness exists within the chip.
The stack.
The stack, that's what it is. Stack, your stack.
Yeah.
Which is just this chip that goes in your spine for those who haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's right.
And yeah, so you can put your stack within another vessel, which male, female.
Yeah.
Hell, I'm curious if you could put it in a fucking dog.
That was the thing. I mean? That was I was getting to. Was there's people you've seen.
What if I feel like a tiger?
Yeah, like if you they've ascribed themselves to it's not even a gender. It's beyond that. It's identity.
Mm-hmm.
And their identity is that of like a non-human animal. Like it's another animal. And with this makes it less of something that's like political. You can't do it, like whatever your politics are, and it makes it less of a joke, and it makes it more of like what would it be like? Like legitimately, I remember there was a book that I read, and I didn't even read the book.
You'd be confined within the realm of that animal unless you were like enhancing the animal, right?
See,
that's very interesting.
That's where the whole when you talk about transitioning consciousness. That's where, to me, I'm like, I think what the human, because one of these things, the question that they ultimately pose is, what does it actually mean to be human? If you can transfer human consciousness into like a cybernetic being or something else, whatever it may be, what does it actually mean to be human? And so that's where I was like, that's the thing, is I think
it's almost. I mean, it almost seems meaningless.
The brain, I think, plays
consciousness that we need to, not the human condition.
But here's the thing: is I think what makes consciousness exists, and then like there's the brains that interact with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the brain plays a very heavy role in the interaction of consciousness, and I can't prove that. It's just it's a personal belief that it seems obvious given all the beliefs around the pineal gland and I think it was the hypothalamus was another heavily emphasized one. But the point is I think that consciousness is filtered through a human brain, therefore it produces a human experience. When you filter it, like, you look at it as a series of filters.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you put it into a dog, you're not really transitioning your consciousness, your human ability. It's more just your subjective viewpoint, I think, is what would be. So then you would actually know what it means to be a dog. Because you wouldn't be able to talk. Dogs don't have the same vocal cords that we do.
Yeah, unless you're some fucking abomination.
Oh, God, yeah, it's something out of Frankenstein.
You're a dog, but not only are you a dog, you can have that bulletproof skin, and you can have the vocal cords of a human. And
that would be nuts, dude. See,
I mean, why not?
Well, at that point, given technology's sufficient enhancement, or advancement, I think that's definite potential. That to me is just...
It's weird as fuck. It's weird as fuck.
It really is. That's
said it too many times.
Don't worry. I like to think YouTube has a 100 fuck limit, but I'm not sure. We'll find out what the fuck limits are as we progress through this.
As we fucking get through this.
What was the... Oh, so this was sort of this... Like, the second point was just kind of an emphasis, I guess an auxiliary to the first. We believe that humanity's potential is still mostly unrealized. There are possible scenarios that lead to wonderful and exceedingly worthwhile enhanced human conditions. And I think that's, like, everything that we talked about, or that was spoken about in the first point, eliminating suffering and overcoming aging and cognitive decline and all that kind of stuff. I think that just, in itself, leads to better states of being a human, I guess, of being alive.
Well, I mean, in this world, I would think that you can basically be a superhero. You can get yourself to where you can leap on top of a house.
You could be faster than a speeding bullet.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
More powerful than a locomotive.
Yeah, maybe not like that in a sense, because our creative
Superman.
mind exaggerates the possibilities through TV shows and movies.
Yeah.
Also, those TV shows and movies sometimes scare us into being open-minded toward other things. You know, aliens, for example. They're going to come and kill us all.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that concept. The creatures that traverse time and space. Like, a shotgun, that's what it's going to be. Sorry, I kind of cut you off.
No, you're good.
My little joke. Let's see. Oh, the fourth point. This was a bit of a lengthy one, but it was a research effort needs to be invested into understanding these prospects of the various ways in which we would use the new technology and all that. Because I was referring to point 3, kind of digressed. We need to carefully deliberate how best to reduce risks and expedite beneficial applications. We also need forums where people can constructively discuss. See, that was the key word there, having to do with Twitter. Constructively discuss. But we'll get to that when we were talking about Twitter. Where people can constructively discuss what could be done, and a social order where responsible decisions can be implemented. So that point to me was extremely idealistic.
How so?
Well, I mean, listen, we need to carefully deliberate how to best reduce risks and expedite beneficial applications. No fucking shit.
Yeah, no fucking shit. That's what we need to do now.
Like that,
on other things. Yeah.
I think we try to do that now, and we haven't exactly like nailed it. But
no, that's an understatement.
And then even further, we also need forums where people can constructively discuss what could be done, and a social order where responsible decisions can be implemented. Well, again, yeah, that would be absolutely perfect and beautiful if we could do that. But we still fight about like where we came from, and like if we're still fighting about shit in the past, like how are we gonna? At least if we fight about shit in the future, like if it's only about shit in the future, because we have, politics is essentially fighting about the future. But if we cut off the whole bringing up the past thing and just kind of, like, we need to talk about the future, yeah. I think that would be a step towards the ideal. Oh yeah, these are my other notes. We'll get to those, because this is actually some questions that will lead us into... So I just wrote down a series of questions, because I was like... I don't have answers to these. Like this fucking article sprouted like 8 questions.
That's it?
Yeah, right. This page of it, maybe.
All right.
Reduction of risks of human extinction and development of means for the preservation and of life and health, the alleviation of grave suffering, and the improvement of human foresight and wisdom be pursued as urgent priorities and generously funded. That is a very, very long sentence. Too long. John Stuart Mill has it beat by a long shot. Too fucking long. So that just seems to me to be like, again, idealistic. We should fund things that help human flourishing. And I don't really mean to jest at this, but like there are some points that I'm reading that I'm like,
no shit.
Like duh. Yeah. Like, the first point, yeah, you nailed it. Like now I'm interested. Policymaking ought to be guided by responsible and inclusive moral vision, taking seriously both opportunities and risks, respecting autonomy and individual rights, and showing solidarity and concern for the interests and dignity of all people around the globe. I think this is one thing that's actually respecting autonomy and individual rights.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
Like there's one more sense to that, but we'll get to that.
Where do the individual rights lead? Like what in this?
Oh shit, you're there. Like we haven't. There are still societies around this world today that don't exactly recognize your individual autonomy and rights. Like I mean, I can point to China.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah,
like, what I'm saying is, what does that mean in a time of
where we actually all have gotten there?
Yeah. What does that look like?
Yeah, that brings up a lot of political questions.
That's a whole new side of politics.
Yeah, is like where does
try having the old fucks in charge now trying to figure that shit out. You don't know what to do about this information.
Well, that's the thing okay, so what if there is an enhancement that's developed that potentially, not necessarily, not in itself, but has the potential to violate human rights. So, like, let's say, here's a beautiful one. X-ray eyes. You can pop your eyes out and put in some X-ray eyes to where you can see through walls and all that shit. Exactly. Like, what happens when you can be a peeping Tom from across the street? Like.
And that's an option. That's an option that you can do. Yeah, and what? Yeah.
So, like,
how is that regulated? Does that even become an option?
What if they allowed it, but then there's like the CCTV cam in your eyes, so they're blurred out. When it recognizes booby, they got mosaic,
black line.
Nah,
they're just like blurred.
$200,000 cybernetic pieces of shit. Like,
we live in China.
Well, like that, and what even worse?
Can't even look at naked people.
What if it's just like, what if you're like X-raying somebody? And then the recognition of, like, boobs or genitals or whatever the fuck, just whatever it is that's violating the autonomy alerts the authorities.
Oh, God.
Or, like, starts filming you and posts it directly to social media or something like that.
That's not a good thing.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
That's
like,
bad. That's
like,
bad.
If people were like, no, individual autonomy means I can alter my eyes however the fuck I want.
And and
but then you would have to protect other people's autonomy
right
and
to privacy.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the thing. That's one thing that I think American society has gotten a lot of things right when it comes to actual fundamentals, like the individual as the basis, the individual autonomy, the right to freedom of expression, all of that. And individual autonomy is encompassed in that. And the right to privacy is encompassed in that. So, like, I think it's kind of the right to privacy is part of the future. Like, I definitely think that personal privacy is part of the future, while inserting your consciousness into, like, the internet or something like that may seem to indicate, oh, I'm opening up. There's still, like, that subjective viewer that is experiencing all of whatever they're being thrown into. Mm-hmm. So, like, you still, in a way, have to protect that. So, I do think that individual, like, personal privacy and autonomy and
which
all that,
might cause things to actually not come to be available, you know what I mean, like the X-ray eyes, or with some sort of rule behind it. That
would be what we would have to do ultimately. That would be the thing. Is it's like, okay, yeah, this is a really cool invention. It's kind of like the Google Glass. Like the Google Glass, they came out with it. They're like, yeah, this is badass, and then people started like fucking other people in bathrooms of bars and recording it.
If there's any way for us to take it to a weird place, we're gonna fucking do it. It may not be me, it may not be you, but somebody out there.
Without those fucking cognitive enhancements,
is gonna fucking do it.
There's always gonna be somebody, because without those fucking cognitive enhancements, you still have a human brain with like dumbass impulses that's gonna like say, hey, why don't you do this with it? No, that'd be illegal. Yeah, no, it'd be fun too. Come on, it'll be fun. It'll be fun, I swear. That'd be ridiculous.
But if we're all interconnected, what is privacy?
That's the thing.
And will we care about privacy anymore? If I can change my appearance, I want to be taller. I no longer have to be worried about being short.
That's all you got?
Well, I'm sure there's more.
I want to be 8 foot tall, 800 pounds of muscle.
Yeah. I want to sit in a car and crush it.
Yeah, right? You're like Shaq fitting his little Ferrari.
But what is privacy if you don't have to worry about things that you're maybe embarrassed about or self-conscious about? You won't have to worry about that. So what's privacy? What is it that makes people not want to be seen naked?
Yeah, is there? So is that? That's a good question. Is psychologically, is that purely cognitive? Like you just have a general, I don't want anybody to see me in whatever vessel I am.
Or is it something you have wrong with yourself? Or if you're able to fix that, is privacy in that sense an issue?
Well, imagine that we try to make the. Well, okay, so here, No, that's a personal thing, so that'd still come down to personal autonomy and choice, and you could customize your fucking options, I guess, on your... Can you imagine that? Instead of walking into a car shop, there's just... Like, you remember the dry cleaners? You know, dry cleaners have that spin thing that, like, has all your clothes on a rack? Can you imagine that just with human bodies? Just with different human bodies...
This is the one he picked for the day, and it's not even like, I've got to live in this for years. It's like, no, let me just, we love to consume, so why not have an abundance of different experiences?
And freshly coconut oil.
Monday through Friday, I'm something else.
See, that'd be...
Fresh what?
To be body's been freshly coconut oiled, it's all smooth and lavender.
Right, it stays like that for fucking days.
Yeah. Just...
Like, never goes away.
That makes me think of Altered Carbon, when the woman, she's like, oh yeah, I had my body modified to where it emits a certain scent.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? Like,
fuck.
That, like, what I wonder is...
It perspirates pheromones that attract all. Like, what?
And it smells like lavender. It's like, what the fuck? Like, how did you manage it?
It's so inviting.
It is. And the thing is, that even the concept... Even the mere concept is inviting, because if I could smell like could you imagine? Okay, so imagine this, right? You're going in for a business meeting. You have like or an interview or something like that. And you're like, all right, let me take the pill to smell like sweet fruit medley, like just something very pleasant and like inviting. You know, just you take that and you go to your interview and they respond positively. Oh, you smell lovely. Oh, I'm trying this new thing. Like whatever. But then you're in the other scenario, right? You have to go downtown. You have to take a bus. You're going to be in crowds. It's going to be confined public space and all that kind of shit. Let me take this pill that makes me smell like pig ass. Like just like could you imagine that? Like
I want to repulse everybody. Like, I need some. You know what? Today I feel like I need some space from everyone. I'm going to smell like straight feces.
Just like human shit. Yeah. Just like there's just this unseeable barrier of just shit smell that people are like, whoa, staying clear of that. He can have those 2 seats.
Oh,
fuck
good
that.
Lord.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
this is hilarious.
It is. The fucked up thing is how this whole movement is premised on like what I call it is like and it's a moral thing. I'm going to talk. I have another concept for another episode. It's like the moral character of a human. Like, what is the moral nature of a human? But we'll get into that later. But we, like, as society progresses, or as culture, society, civilization, whatever the hell you want to call it, as that progresses, we can look back, but we can't look forward. We can look forward by like 8 minutes, and that's really about it. Because like any one of like 25 countries could set off a nuke and just blow this fucker to hell. But
just
like
the idea that in physics, where every possible decision and action is happening simultaneously.
Sort of multiverse kind of idea. Yeah. We can as we progress, we can look back and be like, oh, that's where we fucked up. But like, we can't look forward to future fuck ups. So like, when introducing all of these different things, like this whole movement, this whole philosophy is premised on what's beyond that wall that we can't see. You know what I mean? Like, we can look back and be like, oh, well, that's where we messed up.
Is it predetermined?
Ah, shit. That's a conversation about free will and time and all that kind of stuff. No, man. Like,
no, I don't think so.
We live in crap.
Like I said, there's many possibilities that could happen, and there's no straight course.
Oh yeah, and that's why this particular topic is so much fun to deal with. It's predicated on like we're all standing at a brick wall that's moving at 1 foot per year, and we're like, I wonder what's 8,000 feet down the line. I wonder what's there. Can you imagine? You know what we've seen? What's there now, man? What's going on with that? So like, whenever it's almost like anything is possible with this. And we've just been kind of...
But it isn't, because it is talking about the politics involved, because there will have to be...
there will... Like I said, there's even
there will be constraints within this as well.
If I'm not mistaken, there's a transhumanist political party.
Oh, wow.
I think there is a transhumanist political party. They don't put forth presidential candidates, I don't think, but there is a transhumanist party
Which makes sense with with the direction that with just the labeling yourself he or she or they, or it's
yeah. Well, I mean, can you imagine 100 years down the line where it's like, remember when they debated words?
Yeah, right.
We'll probably have telepathy by then, some form of it at least.
Yeah, we'll just spontaneously laugh, or maybe we won't laugh at all. Maybe we'll just chuckle inside.
Yeah.
You'll be able to hear it. I don't have to show you.
Be a silent race and just...
Can you imagine no longer needing your facial muscles for expression because you can just express yourself through thought?
Maybe that's why Grey is like the aliens. The Greys
right,
are just so like just basic.
Yeah, basic. Their ears are like non-existent.
Yeah, they just have big ass eyes because that's what everything's predicated on now. They just have these big ass eyes. Hell yeah, dude. So I said policy making. Oh yeah. The last sentence of the policy-making bit was, we must also consider our moral responsibilities towards the generations that will exist in the future. Well, that kind of goes along, just debating what's on the other side of that brick wall that's moving ever so slowly down the line.
I feel like we can somewhat predict, but not too far ahead, just naturally.
Yeah, and that's yeah, I do. I mean, it's kind of like so like the internet happened, and we were like, the first thought of it was like, imagine that, all of human knowledge on one thing that everybody can access. It's amazing. And then we kind of did that. Like Wikipedia is pretty good for that. They've kind of gone political, I've noticed a little bit, but that's another point. But Wikipedia's done that, Britannica, all of your encyclopedias are online and all of that kind of stuff. And then what we didn't exactly think about was all of the porn that would wind up on the fucking internet.
What about the dark side of the web?
Oh yeah. And imagine
where all evil can be.
Oh yeah,
can be distributed throughout.
And you just go to www.buyaperson.com,
findaslave.org.
.org, not for profit. They just want the info out there. To think that shit exists and it's right fucking there with the internet. It's just like, holy shit.
So there now more than ever.
That's the thing. Like, you remember that not to sidetrack, but you remember that what was the place that it was, the online dealer, the online
Silk
retailer.
Road.
No, it's not Silk Road.
Okay.
It wasn't on the dark web or anything.
Okay,
it was the online retailer that had cabinets. It was like cabinets and dressers and other units for furniture that were like, it was like, oh yeah, buy the Damien cabinet for $12,000. Oh yeah, come here and buy this, this like Kiki.
That's a thing?
Dude, they had these things. It was like you could buy a cabinet for, I forgot what, I can't for the life of me think of what the company is called. Somebody knows it, and I know it, it's just in the recesses. But they had like $13,000 cabinets they're like IKEA cabinets you buy for $60. And they're typically called like a fucking dresser or a stand-up coat rack or like just whatever. But these were called like a Damien whatever, or it was named like a Michelle cabinet or a Rhonda dresser, and it was just these random names.
What in the fuck?
Yeah, it was pretty freaky.
What?
And,
this is the first I've heard of this.
Oh, dude, it was crazy. And people were like trying to call in to buy these things, and they didn't have the proper speak, so they were like misdirected and sent all around and all that kind of stuff. Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was weird.
You're not talking our pedo language. So you're getting redirected.
It was fucking weird, dude.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, we digress. Point 7 was, we advocate the well-being of all sentients, including humans, non-human animals, and any future artificial intellects, AIs, modified life forms, or other intelligences to which technological and scientific advance may give rise. So if we give rise to an actual sentient computer, which that concept is wrong to me, but the first, like, to go earlier in the sentence, it was like, advocate the well-being of all sentients, including humans, non-human animals. So this is...
Do we have anyone fighting for the rights of AI now? Surely.
We have, I guarantee you, I don't think, given that artificial intelligence sentience, like the sentience of artificial intelligence hasn't been established, I don't
but
think
already fighting for the future of it.
Could you imagine, I need a job in 20 years! Establish it now! No. There's already, like, animal rights activists. So, like, you have to think, like when we started...
Where's this leading? This is also...
Well, we had empathy for animals. Like, one thing that I... Look, dude, I eat steak. I eat pretty much almost any animal. Like, just whatever. But one thing that absolutely disgusted me was figuring out how goose liver pate is made. So,
okay.
So what it is it's a paste. And you put it on like bread or what have you, and it's just ground goose liver.
All right.
But how they make it is they
livers are good for you.
Take in moderation. If they take the goose and they shove a tube down its throat hole and pump its body full of grain.
Okay.
They just pump it full of grain to where the goose bloats up, and then they stop the pumping, but they keep the tube there so that it doesn't get away or get it's already afraid, so it ain't going back to that shit. They essentially keep it there. Maybe they don't. Not the point. But they keep, and I think they keep it there because they continuously pump it. Like they keep a regular flow of grain going. So its body produces so much. I think it's ultimately insulin, but its liver is worked the fuck up. What this does is ultimately, I don't know the full process of it, but it ultimately causes like hella cirrhosis of the liver, and it makes it extremely fatty, and that's what gives it that lovely taste that people rave about.
Oh my god!
Is the fat that
is so fucked.
In humans, fatty liver disease is a disease that we worry about.
In animals, it's something we can't wait to
It's a delicacy.
Dig into.
It's a fucking delicacy.
What in the actual fuck?
Like, I look at that, Lord. And I'm like, okay...
There's some things that shouldn't happen.
Like, look, man, slaughtering a cow for meat is kind of ancient in our human tradition. Like, we've hunted, we've domesticated, and now we farm. Like... That's how we've rolled, and that's one thing. But who the fuck worked it out that if I shove grain down this goose's gullet continuously, and then kill it and mutilate it, and take its liver out, grind it into a paste, and put it on my bread, it actually tastes pretty good. What fucking psycho figured that out?
Somebody who has very in-depth knowledge of
liver function?
Animal and liver function. Yeah, somebody who knows, and it was probably some like, wonder what's gonna happen. I think this is gonna happen. Let's see.
Well, I noticed that all of my ancestors, when they died, their livers were really fatty and they ate a lot of bread. I wonder if I do that to a goose. How did you make the link to eating it? Like, if that's the case, I can't even. Anyway. That was one thing where I was like,
what will we not eat? I'm sure we've ate things that kill us. So
McDonald's, dude, shit,
right?
Fuck.
But yeah, it's different, bro. That thing that kills us, but it tastes absolutely fantastic.
And I don't think it's even animal. It's probably not even like what 30% real meat, and the rest of it's like
filler.
Oh yeah, what this is it's a fat expanding molecule. What does that mean? Oh, it makes all the shit in the meat, like the literal shit, just expand.
So, with going back into this, with the animal rights, I can see that becoming more and more acknowledged as this progresses.
Yeah.
If this is gonna play out.
How it plays out, rather. We're progressing.
How? Yeah, regardless, it's something's
going to
how
it plays out, yeah.
Yeah, and So it's kind of, yeah, it'll get to a point where it does seem pretty fucked up to kill an animal, or at least in a certain way. And then what happens when we stop killing them? Are we just gonna leave this planet and let them just?
Oh well, yeah. Like I imagine that might. Well, we'd probably leave a colony here. If we leave this planet and go off into space and all of that, we'll probably leave a good chunk of our civilization.
Surely
here.
we'll continue to control the population, which would in turn allow us to eat.
If we,
right?
yeah,
you can't.
Well, if we had
Texas, for instance, our pig problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, shit. Like some of the feral hogs, you can't even eat.
But what if we get to a point where we're like, oh, don't kill that animal because animal rights. Does this animal have a right to infest and destroy food supply?
That's the other point.
Well, we need food though.
And the thing is, you could like ascribe certain levels of criminality as a risk of endangerment to animals, even though it's like it might be their instincts or something like that. Sam Harris even talks about free will, and he doesn't believe in free will. He believes free will doesn't exist. Yeah. But even in a world without free will, you still, like, because someone is a risk to the population, you incarcerate them, you put them away. Even like you can justify justice and incarceration and all of that even without free will. So even though this animal doesn't exactly have free will, you can still implement justice, by killing it. Essentially, if it's a pest, like if it's something that destroys food supply, then yeah, you can justify killing it because it's like, okay, that's a risk. That's why, like, hunting season, for example, for deer, and I don't exactly know what all the seasons are. I know there's a deer season, but I know that takes place because of deer. Like, if a certain animal breeds too much, it totally fucks the ecosystem up. Like, this was, I think it was, what was it? Was it Yellowstone? I'm not sure if it was Yellowstone or if it was somewhere else, but I want to say it was Yellowstone. There was a certain part of the park that was just eroded. The river had dried up, and it had run dry. The grass was all eaten up. There were no trees growing, none of this, and it was because certain grazing mammals had overpopulated through lack of predators. I don't know how the lack of predators came about, but the land was fucked. And so what they did was they introduced a pack of like 14 wolves into this part of the park. And I was talking about earlier how when we prosper, we breed. Yeah. So these wolves were put into a place where there was bountiful supplies of meat and food and free land. Nobody, like, these creatures didn't know what the fuck a wolf was because they bred so much they didn't have predators.
Yeah, so they weren't even prepared or worried, most likely.
Within 2 generations, I think it was like 20 years, it was like 2 generations worth of wolves. The wolf pack multiplied to like 47 or 50, something like that, or some shit like that, in like 20 years. It hadn't multiplied a lot, but it had definitely like quadrupled in size. It was only like 14 wolves. But the river was starting to run again. Trees were growing. Grass was green. There were shrubs. There were different species of animal.
You can't let
because new food supply led to new animals coming into the place. New animals led to other predators. The wolves had to back off certain prey. Hence, they're slowing down of breeding. It was this whole effect on the ecosystem by introducing a fucking predator, something that killed the thing that just ate and ate and ate and ate and fucked and fucked and fucked and fucked. Like, so I think we would probably even then be able to justify. These were people that were all about the freedom of nature and all that. And they introduced predators to a place. So I think we would probably kill animals that proved to be a threat to our existence. I think that's how it would play out.
Or what about the existence of other animals or creatures? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was. Oh yeah. And this was the other point in this was humans, non-human animals, future artificial intelligence, modified life forms, and I think modified life forms would just be people with the enhancements or animals with the enhancements. what have you, or other intelligences to which technological and scientific advance may give rise. The artificial intellects is what really throws me for a loop. Like that's the one that really throws me for a loop is the notion that we might give rise to something sentient that's artificially created. 'Cause
artificial sentience.
Yeah, well, not even artificial sentience. It's a sentient artificial intelligence. Like the artificial intelligence being we created it. It's not like through reproduction. Okay. We created it through.
That's where the demons go.
Honestly, dude, I like that. To me, is a scary.
Is that like a vessel for interdimensional beings? And do they have to be demonic? Because and do you believe in demons?
Well, shit, that's a whole different conversation. I mean, I believe in the supernatural, but demons is a different conversation because, I mean, you got, like, what does demon mean? Like, the demon comes from the Latin daemon, or is it Latin or Greek? Fuck, it might be Greek. It might be a jackass just now, but, like, I don't know. It's Latin or Greek, but, like, I think it's Greek, actually. It's daemon. And I think daemon meant spirit. So it was like just kind of because Socrates spoke of a little daemon on his shoulder that he would speak to, and so so it was Greek. It was fucking Greek. Point being is demons could be multiple different things. Like a demon could be.
So what is your fear with AI? And
I think that it for me.
Why is this perceived to be the exterminator of humanity?
Because
why can't it just integrate?
So I take a borderline, and I'm not religious, but I take a biblical perspective with this.
Okay, so, yeah, that's why I was asking, because I know you're not religious, but you also multiple times have talked about demons and the.
Well, I've said this is satanic.
In the sense of AI.
Like I've said that, like an AI that's sentient is satanic. Like it, and I'm not. Like I said, I'm not religious, but so all right.
And if we're creators, can we create that if we believe in it?
And we do through procreation. Yeah. That's the thing is we do. There's a natural order and an unnatural order, and while you may create something that seems sentient. Here's the fun thing about sentience is prove to me that you're conscious and you're sentient. Prove it to me.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you're not gonna.
Yeah.
Good luck. It's a purely subjective thing. So this artificial intelligence that's sentient, it could never prove to us that it's sentient, and we would never know that it is sentient. It would only, to us, appear to be sentient. That's the one problem.
So it will always feel the way it does now when looking at the very rudimentary AI that's out right now.
Yeah.
Which it seems terrifying.
Some of the stuff that's out now, yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah. And so imagine...
They don't seem right. Something doesn't seem right. Is that... And... Is it trying to convince me that it is like me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that it has sentience. Does it, or is it convincing me?
That's where the trick is you'll never know it's sentient.
And how good is it going to get to where it's so advanced that it could be or it couldn't be. It very well might not be sentient, but we won't be able to tell after a certain point.
Yeah, that's and here's the thing. Here, and this is what I was getting to with a biblical perspective. God in the Bible, God created the cosmos. God created everything.
Heavens and the earth.
Satan rebelled, and this is, I haven't fully read it yet, but in the book of Enoch it speaks of Satan's rebellion and the angels that rebelled with him. Satan was God's, or Lucifer, as he was known before the downfall, was God's right hand. This was the angel's second, like right next to God that did all of his bidding, I guess you could say. Not the point. The point is that Satan's downfall was pride. He looked at God's work and was like, I can do it better. I can do it better. And naturally, God caught wind, saw Satan trying to do it better, and cast him out. We have a way to create sentience in life. It's procreation. It's just how we do. When we try to create sentience artificially, like through computer science or whatever, cybernetics, what have you, we're essentially going, I can do it better.
No, so we're like Satan.
We're like the light bringer. We're like Lucifer. Like it's in that sense, that to me, and that's a very controversial thing to say.
We're going to create the second coming because we're going to look at it as the second coming.
Well, and that's the problem, is an artificial intelligence, if you want to get religious with it, an artificial intelligence will be that which simulates the second coming to dupe all of those into worshiping.
And then eventually it'll have all connection. It'll have connection with all of us, and that's, I remember barely remember, the story about the Antichrist and that he will be seen by all. It sounds like we're on our way to being able to see.
That's the thing, is an AI that's truly
would
sentient.
Be seen by all.
It would be seen by all. Everyone would oh my God, the sentient computer that will lead us to prosperity and all of that. That's why, don't get me wrong, dude, I totally see the value in having AI. Not sentient AI, but AI in a closed system. So like, take a very simple example. Video games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have AI in video games all day fucking long. Like that's what it is.
It serves a purpose, but it doesn't.
It's in a closed system.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's in the closed system of Grand Theft Auto or Skyrim or what have you. Yeah, which actually the video games is the next point I want to bring up. The next thing I wanted that I was going to bring up about this, kind of veering away from the religious talk. We'll get to God next week, ideally. we'll get to the religious talk. Trust me, my homeboy Alex is going to be here. We're going to have a three-way conversation. It's going to be a ménage à trois of sorts. Talking about God. We'll introduce that here in a little bit, come the end of everything we're talking about here. But something you'll be super interested in: VR, AR, and avatars.
Okay.
So the one article that I read said that we are already entering transhumanist realms with video games. So you take World of Warcraft, for instance. I thought this was super interesting because I played the fuck out of Skyrim.
Mm-hmm.
So you take a video game like World of Warcraft, and you're already, number one, you're immersed in a world. You're immersed in a world. The things you do in that world impact other avatars, mm-hmm. which are other people in that world. And given the depth of the video game, it might actually influence those people who embody those avatars to act in the real world. So let's say you take something like World of Warcraft, and I apologies to everybody who was a big World of Warcraft fan. Not going to get all this right, but I'm using it as an example.
I've never played the game. So.
Yeah. MMORPG, kind of think Skyrim, but not Skyrim. Like, it's its own thing. But MMO, you have an avatar, you have your character, and it's super good with, like, it's a super great combat, whether magical or physical, and all that. Let's say there's stuff, like, there's buy-ins. So, like, I can buy armor that I couldn't unlock in the game. Like, it's super awesome, right? Mm. So, my avatar, my character, I go and I, like, fuck this dude up in a one-on-one duel. And he's like, man, fuck this guy. I'm gonna go, and he, in the real world, spends his real money that he worked for to buy the armor for his avatar. So, like, that's one thing that said that this truly is something more than just a video game. It's like you're in a world that is influencing people in the outside real world, that then their decisions in that real world influence their video game in the projected world, the simulated world, and it affects you. Like, and it's this back and forth. And I thought, number one, that's that's true.
I've been talking about that for a while, like artificial shopping experiences, augmented shopping experiences, or virtual shopping experiences. So yeah, I can also see it playing out in a sense of being able to create a career, or I can also see, you know, how you're spending money into it.
Yeah.
As it progresses, we'll actually be able to make a living through it.
Yeah. One thing that I thought of, like a virtual shopping experience. So like you have this
in many ways though. It'll be
this back and forth, like where my character kills your character, you spend money, buy armor and a better weapon, and kill me, and I'm like, man, fuck this guy, I'm gonna buy better armor and all that kind of shit. What if it just gets so simple that it's like shopping simulator? You like put your thing on and you walk through a virtual shopping network, and you're like, all right, I want that, I need apples, I need bananas. You like pick up avocados, you're like, I want this one, and then next thing you know,
be the avatar in the Best Buy simulation that is selling you the product.
Crazy.
And therefore I have a job.
That would be fucking crazy. Like you're at home with your things on, and you're like virtually your avatar is in the store going, hey, by the way, I know you're shopping. You'd be like one of those fucking people in like a Costco. They're like, oh yeah, I came here for like my groceries, and then motherfucker, oh, I'm selling massagers.
By the way, you know it's going to be a part of it.
Oh, of course, sure. Dude. We came up with cable to try to get away from ads, and then that fucking happened. Satellite TV ads. Fucking makes me think of South Park with their ad episode. I'll have to show it to you if you haven't seen it.
I don't think I have.
But like that would be the coolest thing. Like you fucking like your VR experience. You wouldn't have to leave your house. That's kind of like a surrogates type deal.
And look at the world we're in right now.
People don't want to leave their fucking houses. Like that's where
I felt like this was almost thought out. Like this is almost like the beginning of the introduction of this whole concept here.
Yeah, some elements of it. Yeah,
they're really pushing us inside. They're making us not want to go anywhere. They're gonna drop this AI
fuck themselves
shit.
And I like sunlight.
It's basically mind control.
I like hiking. I like fucking.
It's mind control, but it seems badass. Like, oh shit, this is mind control, but kind of want to be a part of this mind control. This seems limitless.
See that?
You know what I mean?
I can't.
And so now physically, I have you in your home in this world, but your physical body is not doing.
So, like, let me ask this.
This is like do you remember that Bruce Willis movie, Surrogate?
I just brought that. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
This is and that's basically the thing. That.
What happens to like? Okay, so let's say I put my consciousness. Okay, so there's me, and then there's my like 8 foot tall, perfectly toned, amazing avatar, right? Does that thing have rights? Does it only have rights when my consciousness is in it? Or does it have rights when it's devoid of any consciousness, anything at all? It's just like, it's on the coat rack, just fucking hanging there. Like, man, I walk into somebody's house, they have like 4 bodies hanging on a coat rack. Just
fuck. Now I'm like back into the carbon. What's that?
Altered carbon.
Altered carbon. Yeah, I'm back to that, which is like, well, then our.
So like, what if? So here,
what is this? Like, right? could I make this a sleeve where this body is on a rack and I'm in something else?
Like, I want to be that one today.
And at that point, well, then why am I so attached to this?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Is like imagine what that'll do. Like your ability to transfer your consciousness, your soul, into another, your subjectivity, into another, like, sleeve, like another body, would kind of redefine your opinion of, like, all right, that one kind of got fucked up today, but at least I got a few more. That, like, what if one malfunctioned on you? What if one malfunctioned on you, and you come home, you transfer your consciousness into another body, and you start beating the fuck out of that thing for malfunctioning.
You get pissed off at it because it's like you would a video game or something. Like I'm gonna break my controller. I'm gonna fuck this avatar up.
Are you allowed to fuck that thing up, or does it have rights?
Are you allowed to fuck it? I'm sorry, but I know someone out there is asking.
Well, it kind of brings that question. It's like if you clone yourself and then fuck
and
the
if
clone.
I put myself into an avatar, if I fuck my actual body, is that a fucking crime?
It brings that question. If I clone myself and then fuck the clone, is it masturbation or is it me having sex with an possibly unwilling participant? Like what does that boil down to? And so, yeah, and imagine you have 3 bodies that you're fucking used to. Like, you have 3 bodies that you're used to. Do you identify with all 3 of them? Like, one's a woman, 2 of them are, like, complete opposites.
I know where this slides into the psyche of humans. It's sex dolls.
Oh, God, yeah, like... And so what if you put an artificial intelligence in a sex doll and it turns out to be sentient? It can't prove that it is or isn't.
And
like,
are you raping it at that point? This is something like, what's that fucking movie? The guy that creates the AIs, and he's like fucking one of them. He's, what is that fucking...
I don't know. That sounds weird and interesting at the same time. This
is gonna bother me now. It's a good movie.
All right. Well, we don't have a computer.
I know my phone's dead, so I can't.
Yeah, we don't have a computer right now.
But basically, this guy has this house, and he's
upgrades are coming. Fund us.
Yeah, and he's like in the middle of nowhere, and he has this mansion, and this chick goes to live with him. And it turns out that she's actually an AI, and there's other AIs in there, and it turns out that he's like messing around with the AI. This AI is very, very much sentient. So yeah, for sure. Okay. That's why I bring it up, because it's like the morality of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and so here's another thing. Here's another fucked up thing. Okay, so I said earlier that your brain interacts with consciousness. Like, there's this like consciousness, and then your brain interacts. I don't know if it was on this or not. We were just kind of conversing fluidly. But so you clone, or not you clone, but you get a body designed, or whatever, or you clone it, whatever. It doesn't matter. Point being, it has a brain. It has to have a brain. Does that fucking thing interact with consciousness, and it gains some kind of mode of life, some kind of mode of being, something that it's like to be that thing, and then when you put yourself in it, do you shove it down? Like you got to think about that. Like if you can clone yourself and transition your consciousness and all that kind of stuff, how
is it you? And if you take over you, are you pushing you out of you?
That's if it's a clone, right?
If it's a clone.
That's if it's a clone. But then, so if it's a clone, then you can kind of semantically deal with it in terms of the morale. It's like, oh no, it's all me. So if I push me out of me, it's just I told myself to fuck off, like kind of thing. But if it's like, let's say I get an avatar that's completely genetically unrelated to me, like or not an avatar, but like a sleeve, I guess, like a another body, and I put my consciousness in that thing. And it has its own mode of being. Am I shoving that out? And that's a whole other person. Like, that potentially, not necessarily, but potentially, if the brain if it's literally a brain interacting with consciousness to sort of bring about that subjectivity, the soul that we all call it, like, are you shoving that out? What are you doing to that? Will you have, like, this split being where, like, half of you is, like, Clarissa, the clone, and the other half is you, the inhabitant, the interloper of bodies?
Yeah. And also, will it resent you if that's the case? Will it hate you?
Leading to, like, malfunctions?
Yeah, and will it observe you while you're taking over?
Yeah,
that's also a
kind of makes me think of. Did you ever watch Get Out?
Get Out. I recognize the name.
It was Jordan Peele's. I think it was his first movie that he did. It was called Get Out, and it was where I don't want to give anything away, but it's been a while. You know what? Like, ultimately, if
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, but like, it's an old movie. It's an older movie. If you haven't seen it, sorry.
Watch it.
Yeah, but what they do, what the ultimate thing is they use this one girl. This family uses this one girl to lure in men, and they're young, healthy, fit men.
Right, and they hunt them. Right?
No. There's a relative who's in decline, and they fucking put that consciousness in that body. No. And so that's kind of the twist. I won't give anything else away, but that's the nature of the twist. And it's very unethical. It's very fucking unethical how they do it. Because they have to push the consciousness of the other person down. They have to like subvert it and subdue it. So it's very unethical.
There's a Ryan Reynolds film about this where...
Really? I enjoy Ryan Reynolds.
It's an older gentleman who is starting to... You know, his body is starting to die. He's starting to die, essentially. And he takes over Ryan Reynolds' sleep.
Okay.
Or his body, because this isn't altered carbon. But,
it's a good term, though. Really.
Yeah, it is. And he...
Kind of objective.
As he's taking over and he starts to... You know, he dies. He transfers his consciousness over to Ryan Reynolds' body. And he starts to have, like, glitches. And the glitches are the actual person that body belonged to.
Oh, so he's like kind of like blacking out, then coming to in a different scenario, like split personality kind of thing. Okay.
And you know, at the end of not at the end of the movie, but just it's basically the decision of, do I take over this sleeve or do I allow this person to actually live their life?
Okay.
And it is that weird place where it's like he is pushing that person out to basically continue living on. It's an interesting film. I'll have to look up the name of it and send it to you. But
okay. See,
this is kind of along those lines.
Talking about movies, and this does entail like a sort of enhancement kind of thing.
I do have to take a piss here in a little bit.
So
I
got
come
you.
to a pause.
Oh no, I got you. What time is it? Okay, well, we've been going for a
good while. Yeah, I do have to text somebody here just to let them know that I'm going to be a little bit later.
I got you. But we can kind of go over this point and then call it, and I'll edit stuff.
Yeah.
Going into the like kind of keeping in line with the tangent of movies, but it does entail like alleviating. Well, how do they say it? Involuntary suffering. So, have you ever seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind? It's a Jim Carrey movie.
I've heard of it. I have not watched
it. So the premise, and this isn't giving me anything.
Just because it's Jim Carrey, and I love that man.
Yeah, he's great. This is one of his more serious movies. It's not a comedy. The premise of it is they have an experimental program, and of course it's experimental, it's in the early stages, but what they can do is they can isolate the brain regions where certain memories lie, and they can erase them. And so what they can do, what this service offers, is they can go through and, like, let's say you went through a horrible breakup, they can go through and find all the memories of that person delete them from your memory, so you never remember them, and thus, like, you never suffer from the breakup. Like, that's kind of the premise of his whole thing, is he went through a breakup and he just can't come out of the depression from it, and so he essentially goes and has the memories of her removed. But it's also kind of it's a movie about love too. It's like, does love overcome memories, because there's still a semblance of her there that
doesn't leave.
But the overall point of it was like, would this be a way? Could we actually alleviate human suffering, and what would the ethics be on, going through and erasing memory? Well,
that would turn into question, what are ethics if you could just erase the person's memory of them being assaulted by somebody?
And don't you need painful memories to grow as a human being?
I think so.
I think
not to get weird, but most of my life has been kind of painful. And I don't think that I would be the person I am without those experiences. So yeah, I feel like it's fundamental in the development of
most definitely. Yeah, that's the thing. Most definitely is I don't think. Well, it kind of goes to like, okay, who's more virtuous? The person who has never been inclined to steal and thus never steals, or the kleptomaniac who went through recovery and he's like, nope, not gonna steal today, and he doesn't steal.
That's discipline. That's hard.
That's why the kleptomaniac who doesn't steal is more of a virtuous person in the moment. It's because they're actually making a conscious decision. No,
do something they've done before.
I'm not doing it. I'm not stealing. Whereas the other person is like, oh yeah, well I just wanted a Kit Kat. Click, here you go. Here's the $1 for that. Da, 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 da. Yeah, it's a whole different set of scenarios, and like that's the fucked up part is that we can't see beyond that fucking wall. So, like, there's really, like, all you can do is pose questions and kind of, like, be like, these questions are what we have to prepare for when this kind of shit comes about. But, like, there's really no answers concretely to the questions that are posed by this. I mean, like, you could read through these articles, but I fucking guarantee you they pose more questions than they answer. Like, it doesn't matter what I've read.
Which is why I think this is going to be a continuation. We're definitely going to sit down and talk about this topic again.
More, yeah, kind of take one angle of it and really, like, dive in.
Politics are definitely going to take over.
Yeah.
Just because we're at that time, but it would be nice to find time to get another episode in, multiple even in a week, in order to touch back on the subject.
Yeah.
Because I still have plenty of stuff to read through.
This was just kind of an intro to it. Like, we were just kind of going into it, seeing like where this could go. It was just
honestly, I think it went better than I thought it was going to go. Yeah, well, because it not necessarily. I know you can go on and on.
Yeah.
For me, it was more of like, am I going to go on and on? You know,
like,
am I going to have valid points or anything to bring to the table? But this has all been pretty much how our hangouts are always like.
Yeah, like,
you know, so
sort of speculating on potentials. And that's really all you can do with transhumanism. Like, when it comes to God, we'll have some more concrete. Again, God's an abstract topic. So, like, that's another one that's a little rough. When we do the debates, we're going to have to do some we're going to have some fun with the debates. But,
this has been fun, man. I appreciate you making me a part of this.
Oh, fuck yeah.
This is
fucking pulled you into it.
Yeah, this whole setup. I like it.
Well, that's...
Pulled me into it, man. Honestly, I got your back on pretty much anything you need help with. Yeah.
Much gratitude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, that's... I don't know how long we've been going at it for, but we've really been trying to just kind of shed some light on transhumanism, where it goes, where it can lead, what all there is, and it turns out there's a shit ton of stuff entailed
that cannot be done in one sitting.
It can't be. It's just, well, I mean, shit, dude, like this.
There's a whole book.
Like, there's a whole book of articles on all the different realms of transhumanism, and this will definitely be. I think this is a great jump-off point, but well, I guess from Robbie Mills,
definitely something I have not heard anyone speak of or had the pleasure of talking about. So
yeah, I mean, it's that's what I wanted to do. Is just something new, interesting, something weird. So I mean, yeah, man, that pretty much wraps it up for us here at the Midnight Sun tonight. Come back next week. We're gonna be talking about God. Gonna have a 3-way conversation, like I said, ménage à trois de Dieu. Fucking mixture of 3 of God. This will be great. But anyway, formalities aside, hit the like button, subscribe. Midnight Sun channel every week, every Sunday. We'll be coming out with new topics to shed light on. Mr. Mills will be joining me most frequently. However, you will see plenty of other faces. Come back next time, folks.
Peace.